Life is Strange Double Exposure was released several days ago, and one of the topics surrounding this game that people are talking about online is the fact that this game actually includes trigger warnings. I have this tweet pulled up right here where you can look at some of the trigger warnings that you can actually select to turn on or off when you're playing the game. So blood, violence, suicide, abuse, drug, sex, transphobia. And while I don't necessarily inherently have a problem with including trigger warnings in games or having certain warnings, like let's say a person is photosensitive, so the game has a warning that like there's flashing lights and other things like that. It's like, okay, I get that. That's a physiological response to certain stimuli, so it'll cause something to happen to you physically as a result of that. I totally understand that. I don't have a problem with having warnings for something like that. But for some of this stuff like blood, violence, drugs, sex, transphobia, I mean, keep in mind, this is a mature rated game, so it's not like this is supposed to be for little kids. So, I mean, if this type of stuff triggers you, then you probably shouldn't be playing the game to begin with. But one of my favorite ones is this last one right here, the Transphobia Warning. They even have a image right here that says what it is. Enables warnings before mentions of transphobia occurs. No depictions of transphobia occurs. If enables, warnings will appear on the top right hand side of the screen before the content appears. So just to let you know, it's like, hey, here's a warning that someone's going to say something transphobic or whatever. I think when you're doing stuff like this, that's going a little bit too far with it to try to warn people like, hey, there's going to be transphobia in the game. So I don't know what that's supposed to do. Is it really supposed to make things better, or they wants to put them in their bubble so that they never experience anything like that again? And that's kind of a trigger warning that I would say is a little ridiculous when a person can't hear anything that they don't like. Otherwise, that is somehow affecting them in a negative way. One of the arguments I've actually heard about this, and it's kind of why people will say words are violence and other things like that, is if you have depression or something like that, that's a mental illness or it's a mental effect, but it can manifest in certain ways and physical characteristics because your brain is a powerful organ that controls everything else. So some people have tried to argue that if you say stuff that upsets people enough, well, then it could cause them physical ailments. That's why words are violence, because words are doing something physically to them that is it's negative or whatever. The same as if you were to punch something, that's something physically negative against them. Like I said, that's the best argument I've heard about this sort of thing, but it's still a ridiculous argument when you really just think about it for 10 seconds, because it's not really a direct action. Like punching someone is a direct action. Saying something that someone doesn't like is not a direct action. They have to choose to take that in negatively, and then they have to choose to stew on that and let it actually fester into something. And then we have to also further say that what the negative results of that is just the result of what they said there. So you see, there's a lot of leaps in logic here, but a lot of people who will make those leaps of logics aren't necessarily mentally well. So that's why they can do this sort of thing. And it's kind of ridiculous that we live in a society right now where some people who are playing a mature rated game have to be coddled in this manner, where they have to be given warnings if they're going to hear something transphobic or whatever, because apparently they just can't handle that. And like I said, with some other warnings, it makes sense because photosensitivity, it's like there is a direct result between flashing lights and a person having a seizure. With all this other stuff, maybe some of this stuff, if a person recently experienced loss or whatever, if it hits close to home to them, then maybe I can see why they wouldn't want to play a game that has that sort of stuff. But usually when you see the ratings on a game, it has a little descriptor in the back, like what this type of content is or why it's rated this. And if people look at the descriptor and it has some of this stuff in there, and like, I don't know, maybe they just experienced a loss, or they're getting over drug abuse, or they had or they know someone who's getting over that or is going through that, then I can see why they might not want to play that game. But then it's like, or they might not want to experience that sort of thing in a game. So you look at the description in the game and it says this type of stuff is there. So they're like, oh, well, I guess I can't play this game, or I don't want to play this game if that's what's in it. And that's the mature, sensible thing to do. What's not the mature, sensible thing to do is to ask people and ask games and other forms of entertainment to change and to try to accommodate your sensibilities, because everyone is not the, I mean, I think it's people just think of themselves as the main character of their own story. Well, they kind of are, but the thing is, it's just your own story. Everything doesn't need to revolve around you. So, like I said, if this is stuff that you don't want to experience in a game, then don't play the game. And it's looking like that's probably the case for the most part, because we're seeing the critic reviews for this sequel right now. It's honestly a sequel no one was really asking for, but they decided to crap it out. I don't know, nearly a decade after the original one, because the original one did pretty well. But it looks like users aren't really happy with this one, as you can see from Metacritic. Going on to the Steam charts right now, they only experienced a peak pretty much at launch, and then after that, it's been a steady decline right now. So it's looking like this game is pretty bust right now, and most people just aren't really concerned with with this right now. I don't even know why I'm making this video, because in all honesty, I don't think anyone's actually going to be care enough about this game to watch this video. I just thought this was kind of a funny topic, and it just goes to show that there's more of an issue within the gaming space, because there's people out there who kind of feel that this sort of thing is needed, where they need to be pandered to as an individual, and that's really not the way things should be going. But let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And don't forget to click that like button and share this video out there, because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.